Hi, my name is Austin Chow. I work on the Calendar Data API team. The Calendar Data API is the API that exposes the data of your Google Calendar account. With the API, you can do things like creating events, searching for events, or even create a whole new calendar programmatically. Today, I'm going to go over how to get started using a JavaScript client library to talk to the Calendar Data API. I'll also be showing a demo of the new interactive developer guide that I developed. This new developer guide lets you play with the code right in the browser, so it's a great learning tool for you to start learning how to use the client library. The JavaScript client library is the latest client library that we have added to the list of client libraries that we officially support, which include Java, C#, PHP, and Python. But the JavaScript client library is particularly useful because it allows you to easily integrate with your HTML, and there is no server-side dependency. The JavaScript client library also has a built-in technology that allows cross-domain communication, meaning that you can now use JavaScript to perform not only read operation, but also write. Using the JavaScript client library is very easy. I'm going to show you the few steps that you need to do to set up your code to start using it. Step 1, you have to sign up for a developer key. You do that by going to this website. Step 2, you need to include the client library loader on your website by placing the script include with your developer key. Step 3, you need to upload an image to the same domain where JavaScript code is going to be. This image doesn't have to be visible. As you can see, I'm positioning it far off the page. This is needed for cross-domain communication purpose. Step 4, you need to use the loader to load in the JavaScript client library. Step 5, you now need to set the callback function to be called when the library is loaded and ready to go. Step 6, inside the callback function, you first need to check if the user has logged in. If not, you need to redirect that user to the Google account page to log in. The user will then be returned back to your page when they are authenticated. Now you're ready to use the JavaScript client library to make calls to play with the Calendar Data API. Now let's go to the interactive developer guide. You can access it by going to this address. The interactive developer guide looks like your normal developer guide with sample code demonstrating the common use case that you can perform using the API. But unlike the normal developer guide, you can now modify the source code using the built-in text editor and execute the code right out of the browser. This is a fun and intuitive way to learn as you get to immediately see the result of the action you just performed. So let's take a look at some of the sample code and we'll try to execute it. So let's run this sample code and see what happened. The snippet you just executed retrieved the list of all your calendar and print out the title. You can pull up the embedded version of the Google Calendar to verify that these are all the calendars that belong to you. Now let's take a look at the code to see how this is done. First, you have to create a calendar service object, and you have to pass in your application name. Then you have to specify the feed URL where this request will be sent to. And we are using the all calendar feed. Then you have to define your callback function. So inside the function, we are just iterating through the list of calendar you have and print out its title. We are using the print function, which is a convenience method that we provide in this developer guide. And then you also have to create a callback function for your error handling. And now we're just outputting the error message to the output tab. And finally, you have to submit this request to the server by calling the getAllCalendarFeeds through your calendar service object by passing in your feed URL, your callback, and your error callback. So let's modify the code to do something different. Let's add some code to print out the time zone of your calendar. You can easily do that by going to a text editor and change the code. And now let's run this code. You see you have the calendar title and the time zone being outputted. Okay, reading data from your calendar is fun, but it's more interesting to write data to calendar. So let's create an event to your Google Calendar account. First, you have to create a service object again. And now you have to specify a different feed URL to do event creation. And this is the URL that we're going to use, the private full URL. And now you have to create an empty event object to represent this new event. And we set the title to YouTube video shoot. To associate time with an event, you have to create an when object. Then we have to set the start and end time of the when object using the datetime string. And here we are specifying the start time to be today at 9 a.m. And we're specifying the start time at today 10 a.m. and then we set the time to the when object. And then you add the when object to the event, and you also have to specify the callback function to let you know when the event is created. And you have to specify the error handling method if there's any error happen. And finally, you have to submit this request to the server by calling the insert event method. And let's run this code. And let's take a look at the embedded calendar. And there it is. I hope you have an idea of how easy it is to use the JavaScript client library. The Interactive Developer Guide has many other samples that demonstrate other features of Calendar Data API. So I encourage you to go check it out and play with that. For more resources, you can visit the Calendar Data API homepage on code.google.com. Thank you. Have fun coding.